Hello everyone, my name is Elaine Waterman and I am the Executive Director here at the Firehouse Arts Center in downtown Longmont. We are located on the corner of 4th Avenue and Kaufman, and we are a nonprofit art gallery in the heart of downtown Longmont. So we welcome you to Second Friday, and we thank you for making a virtual stop at our Second Friday exhibit opening. So today we are debuting a new exhibit here in our main gallery, in our South Gallery, and also upstairs in Studio C. As for our gallery, our main gallery show, I am going to leave it up to Brandy Coons, our curator, and Barbara Rudlaff to let you know what it is all about.
Hi. Hello. So we've actually just installed this show this week. It's brand new, and it is the culmination of Barbara's summer residency here at the gallery. So you've been working all summer.
Indeed.
And they're always self-driven concepts and projects because that's our goal, is to support artists in their own vision. So tell us about this project. What was the inspiration for it?
Absolutely. Well, I grew up in part in Europe, and my mother was an art teacher. So I spent all of my childhood going to art museums all around the world, and I never saw myself represented. And that I didn't really register that until I started studying a lot of art history, and I was like, wait a minute. So once I was in grad school, I did a study abroad thing in London, and it happened to be the 50-year anniversary of the, they decriminalized homosexuality only 50 years ago. This was 53 years ago now. So, in celebration of that, all of the major museums in London had LGBTQ exhibits. All of the art museums, all of the history museums. It was amazing, and it made me realize I really want to be a part of this story in art history. So I have decided that I'm going to focus on specifically portraying lesbians, because that's not really a thing. There are more gay men in films and TV, and it's books, that sort of thing. And so I want to bring representation to lesbians specifically. So that was my original plan, was to paint portraits of lesbians that I know. And then COVID hit, and I thought, oh, well, this is going to be perfect. I want to record this historic moment. I mean, I love looking at those old photos from 1918 and seeing everybody in their masks and kind of connect through history. So I wanted to capture this moment in the pandemic history and capture my friends and people in my general circle wearing their masks, doing their part. And they're being seen, and they're also being responsible, and they're looking after the community and keeping everybody safe by wearing their masks. I think another important part of that is that historically LGBTQ people have had to be sort of hidden and hide behind masks of disguise and seem straight, pass, and that's becoming less and less the case now. And I liked the juxtaposition of masks now showing our true character, which is caring about our community and being responsible for everyone and doing our part. So, and we're able to still express individuality even though half of our faces are missing behind a mask.
Yeah, I think that's something really engaging about the work, is that in particular you have a very realist style that shows off the eyes and the personality in people's eyes. And so there's the sense that even though there's a mask, you're really seeing that person.
Yeah, it's true. A lot, you can express a lot through your eyes, and you know, we've been talking too about how now we really have to pay attention to what the person is saying, and listen to their voice inflection, and pay attention to their eyes to know where they're coming from and what they're really saying, which I think is just really lovely.
We also, I do want to make sure that we point out that every subject is, you know, a person in a position of personal success or general influence, and so that's something about the visibility that's very important.
Absolutely. I wanted to make a point. Everyone in here is a leader of some sort, either of an important engagement organization, like out Boulder, that's Marty Moore right there, or they are in charge of the arts for an entire city, or they are in politics. A lot of the people I know are in politics, given that my fiance is mayor of a town and highly politically engaged. I wanted to make sure that I was making it known to people who come and see the show that we are in all kinds of important positions. We have achieved quite a bit. We are able to make a positive difference in our community, which is really important to me.
Yeah.
So I wanted to make sure if you come and see the show, have a look around and make sure that you take note of the different positions that these women have, because a lot of them are really making an important change in our community, which is important.
I am going to do a quick walk around with that mention,
Okay?
and then we are going to walk into the South Gallery. So if you don't recognize the artist, that is a self-portrait of Barbara Rudlaff right there. Yes.
You definitely want to add that there is the additional dimension within the show of text written by each subject in their own words about their experiences during COVID, which I think adds a kind of a personal touch to experiencing those portraits. And I think that was really genius of Barbara to request of them and add as like you hear their voices and you see their faces, and that's wonderful.
And I really like the idea that even though each of these people will have had a different experience during COVID, some people actually got the coronavirus, that sort of thing, we all have commonalities, that we've all been suffering the same kinds of things, like I miss seeing my friends, or going to restaurants, or I miss my mom, or whatever. So there's a lot of commonality, but I wanted to make sure that everyone's individual experience and voice was recognized and seen, which is why the show is called Seen. A couple of the pieces are in progress, so make a point of stopping back in to see how those end up turning out.
Yeah, it's almost like an extension of the residency itself into the exhibit, so that we still get to see the process.
Yeah.
So thank you.
Wonderful. It's been such a fabulous experience. If you're considering becoming a resident at the Firehouse, do it, because it's wonderful. They are so fantastic here, and the space is gorgeous. You'll see that in a minute.
Thank you. Thank you for the plug, Barbara. Just a quick look. I missed these guys. So, and as Barbara was mentioning, there are some in progress right here. And you'll be able to see a time lapse of how she creates these portraits as well. And we will head into the South Gallery and our second exhibit opening with Nathan George.
Hello.
All right. So this is Nate. So one of the benefits of completing a residency at the Firehouse is that we ask you to guest curate the accompanying exhibit in the South Gallery. So it's an opportunity to bring in complementary work to your own idea. Barbara chose Nate's work, and I've never met Nate before, so it's just been lovely getting to know him, and we get to know him a little bit more through the work. So I wanted to ask you to tell us about yourself, your process, and actually how did you and Barbara meet?
So Barbara and I actually met through Al Boulder, who I mentioned earlier. She's a portrait of the executive director there. I'm an employee and a longtime volunteer. And Barbara led our Nudes with Tudes drawing group pre-COVID, so something else that we have unfortunately lost in these past 6 months is this awesome figure drawing group that Barbara used to lead. So that's actually how I met Barbara, and we followed each other on social media, and I like to post pictures of the things that I create, and then she reached out to me about the show, and specifically she actually reached out about the clip pieces that I have done. So I've done a few various clip quilts. He's one of my favorite artists. I just find that, you know, he's known for this flashy gold style, but he really uses shapes in an extraordinary way when you look a little bit closer. Ancient shapes like spirals and squares and circles. And so for me, this one, the tree from the Stocklet Frieze is really one of the best. And I like this panel specifically because it's actually the sketch prior to his original. So when you look up close, you'll see the details of his actual notes.
Oh, nice.
And I thought that was a fun approach to kind of a work in progress.
So what exactly drew you to quilting as a medium?
You know, I've always been a maker. My grandmother was crafter extraordinaire. And so growing up, we always were making things. And I saw a t-shirt quilt one time, and I thought, well, I can make that. And I tried and failed pretty hard, I will admit. So then I wanted to make another one. And then I just kind of fell in love with quilting. I love changing the fabric, like the stitches you use. You see all these different textures kind of emerge based on just the stitch that you're choosing to use, whether it's by machine or by hand.
Excellent. So 3 of the 4 pieces in the show are actually within a theme of you reacting to particular artists' work. This one is Klimt, and it
Yes.
uses this print panel. Do you want to tell us about the others?
Sure. So when Barbara mentioned that the theme was going to be seen, I thought, well, I am a bit challenged when it comes to color. And so I have kind of looked at things a little bit differently than most folks. And so I started researching artists who are really known for their use of color. Klimt, of course, the use of gold. This one was inspired by Pendants, concentric circles and squares, these bold colors and these bold shapes. For me, I was really drawn to the shapes of his work, and these very simple classic style quilt squares were perfect for that kind of reminiscent of that. And really, inside of these details here, you see kind of these same concentric circles in that similar spiral shape. And these fabrics were actually, both of these quilts, these fabrics came from other quilters who have passed away, and their families gave me their fabric stash. And that is something I really love, is taking these cool vintage fabrics that you just are never going to be able to find again, and putting them together, sometimes in a more modern way, sometimes in very classic ways, like we see in the Crazy Quilt. So this one is actually also fabric from a woman named Nancy. It kind of mixed with some of my own stash of fabric, so it's a mix of old and new. And I was really inspired by Picasso's Cubism phase. I'm not one who really understands the Cubism movement, but I do love the shapes that they create, and I just instantly realized that these are quilt shapes that I'm so familiar with. And so we were able to put it into this cool, crazy quilt that this pattern is actually from Victorian era, and it was to show off your wealth and the type of fabric that you could afford to buy. And then by the 1920s, it had become more utilitarian, and it was about preserving fabric and using every scrap of fabric that you had in order to make yourself a blanket. And so there's just kind of fun history behind some of the quilt patterns that we see.
Excellent. As we move on to your last piece, I know when you and I were talking, when Barbara and I were talking about your work, and you mentioned that you have some colorblindness.
Yeah.
I think it's super fascinating that you're able to put together these cohesive compositions. And how do you go about approaching that process?
Well, so, you know, I haven't read green deficiency, so I have a hard time seeing shades of red, green, blue and purple are all kind of the same color to me. So lucky for me, this quilt is a perfect example of companies who produce lines of fabric that coordinate together, and they're labeled as such. I also tend to go for like a crazy quilt, where you could put any color you wanted in here, and it wasn't going to matter.
Yeah.
That's the goal. And so I kind of go for things that I know maybe won't be so great colors, or I really rely heavily on fabric designers labeling their fabric by color. This is the thing with boxes of crayons.
I just love it that even though you say you don't understand cubism, it's all about breaking things down into shapes. And you're totally right that that's exactly how you approach making the quilts, which is fantastic. So thank you. Thank you. So we do also, as we wrap up in our downstairs area for the live stream, want to encourage everyone to please make an appointment or come by and see them in person. They don't think the videos really could ever do this justice. They have a lovely tactility, and I think Nate has mentioned, you know, we want to be fake, but it's really cool to get a sense of how they feel and how they're put together.
Absolutely, come by and please feel free to touch them. They are blankets, they are comfort items, they're meant to be touched and held by all means, safely. But yeah, for sure.
Well, it looks like
Troy's here. Okay. Well, fantastic. So thank you so much, Nate and Brandy and Barbara. And we are going to head upstairs to Studio C, where our artist member, Joanna Giddings, has a installation. And I'm going to try and hold the camera steady as we head upstairs to Studio C. And not trip. So Studio C is where we have our artist member pop-ups. We usually have them just for the night of Second Friday, but we are having them for longer installations. You want to go ahead? You can pop in ahead. And there's Joanna. And Tanya. You can go there too. So I'm going to turn on the lights and take a full look around first. And so, Joanna, is there anything that you would like to share about the room and your work in general in here?
So this I put together pretty quickly. I wasn't really, I had a couple weeks to plan, and I had a lot of work. I'm working right now on a series. The beginning of it are these four here. That the idea is to illustrate people and how they can connect, and how they're also connected to the environment, or not just, you know, the outdoors, but just like the earth as a whole and the forces that are between the people and our natural environment. And I think I've been doing a lot of reading about it, and we, in not only just in our all of the technology that has been developing and how everything has gone virtual, but also even more so with the pandemic, we are very much separated from each other and from nature. These were actually completed last fall before any of this came about, but it's become even more kind of poignant as this whole thing has developed. So these are the first four in that series, but everything else that's kind of around it is kind of tree related. So I kind of pooled all my tree pieces into this one exhibit. And then I have a background in set design, and so that kind of kicked in when I hung all these. I was thinking, well, there's all this empty space kind of in the room. I wanted it to feel more immersive. I wanted it to feel like you're walking into kind of a forest. So then all of these hanging pieces happened. And because I love color, I made them all colorful. And so the idea was to kind of give the viewer the experience of having to walk through the trees in order to see the pieces, having to move around them, and in order to get a closer view of them. So that's how this whole thing came about.
Yeah, and definitely I encourage you to come and see the colorful forest that Juliana has created in Studio C. I'm going to walk through a little bit of it. And you can see how the light kind of shines through the fabric as well. And the pieces of art are revealed as you maneuver your way through the forest and see each of the works of art. So Joanna, what medium do you use?
I'm a watercolorist, so everything in here is watercolor. Even the trees, I used acrylic paint, but I kind of gave it, I watered them way down and used kind of a drip application to paint the fabric for the trees. But all the pieces that are hanging on the walls are watercolor, and even the smaller jewelry pieces are hand-painted watercolor under epoxy. So,
oh, fantastic. So let's go see those.
even when I do acrylic pieces and murals and things like that, I tend to kind of make it look like watercolor. I don't know. I'm a huge fan of watercolor. So.
And here are some of the smaller pieces that Joanna was talking about. So these guys are hand-painted pendants and earrings. And what is the price range for your work that's up here then?
Anywhere from, I think the smaller pieces are $70 and the largest piece is $2,400. So, and the jewelry is $45.
Fantastic. And I do also want to introduce Joanna is our new instructor. So even through COVID and closure, we are expanding our education programs, and we are committed to offering high quality arts education. And Joanna just came on, mid-September for Art Attack, and she is taking the reins from Mr. Mario and taking over our Art Attack program at Casa de la Esperanza. So we are very happy to have her. And she's also teaching our dual language, Spanish and English, art classes, both in person and through Zoom. And we're also going to be introducing a new program that is going to be on Channel 8 as well. So we are very excited to have you on board and being part of the team. And yeah, we can't wait to get started. So we're super excited.
Thrilled to be here.
And awesome. Is there any last words?
No, I don't think so. Come on out.
Yes.
Beautiful night. So.
And I'm going to exit through the forest because it is super cool and it is such a cool experience. So thank you guys for coming to our virtual art walkthrough and for coming to Second Friday opening. I'm going to end up in our main gallery. So you can see our welcome table. Now we are going to be open for in-person event at 6:30, so in 6 minutes, and we will be here till 9 p.m. Oh, people are already coming in. But we will be here till 9, and we have a capacity of 10 people in the whole gallery. Masks are mandatory. We also have our screen-printed totes for a $10 donation, and postcards created by our curator for $5 donation, and masks. So if you forget your mask, we have masks here available. So come on by. We will be here till 9, and we hope to see you soon. Thank you so much.